Hi, boys and girls. I am back with Alvin Ho again. We are up to chapter 9. Now, chapter 8 was called Johny Astro, and in that chapter, it was pretty much about Alvin and still had the chicken pox. School was closed down, and his dad was spending some time at home with the kids because all the kids came down with the chicken pox in the house. And it was pretty much about his dad and this special Johny Astro flying aircraft thing. And at the end of the chapter, it talked about how his dad whispered to him that someday it was going to be his. He was going to give it to Alvin. And like, it just meant so much to Alvin that his dad said that. It was so, so special. And so that was a really cool way to end the chapter, something so special happening for him that his brother and sister didn't care about it, but it meant the world to Alvin. So that was pretty cool. So chapter 9 is called A Real Nightmare. My dad is really good at taking care of things. Maybe it's one of the rules of being a gentleman, but I don't really know. I can't remember. Take care of your things, my dad likes to say, and your things will take care of you. He takes such good care of his car, Louise, for example, that she will probably run for a third geological age, although she already had one transmission in the junkyard, which, my mom said, is the car equivalent of having one foot in the grave. My dad also takes good care of our house and our yard. He can use a hammer, he can climb a ladder, he can climb down too, usually, and he owns a power drill in a box. He takes really good care of his children too. Just look at us. A couple of weeks of scratching ourselves to death and we practically are normal again, on our way back to school. So when my dad wasn't playing with his Johny Astro, he kept it in the box and set the box on the top shelf of the highest bookcase, for safekeeping. The Johny Astro sure was amazing, even sitting in its box. I headed into the living room to look at it one last time before going to school. Johny Astro made me very popular. My dad's voice replayed itself in my ears. Everyone wanted to play with me. Do you remember when he said that in the last chapter? Johny Astro, I read across the box for the millionth time, really flies. No wires, no connections. Fly your spacecraft anywhere. I stared, unblinking. I shifted my PDK under my arm, and I swallowed. Alvin, my mother yelled from the kitchen. Hurry, honey, your bus is almost here. Coming, Mom, I yelled back. But first, all I needed was a stool and to stretch until I could reach it, and Johny Astro was perfect for show and tell. Someday, my dad's low whisper filled my ears, this will be yours. Someday. I had no idea when that someday would be. I think it might be today. Thanks, Dad, I whispered. You're the best. I even remembered my manners. And then I slid the box into a large shopping bag and I slipped out the door. Uh-oh, do you think that was a good idea? What's that? Pinky asked as soon as I got on the bus. I gasped. I could hardly believe it. I was already flickering on Pinky's radar. Johny Astro, I said. What's Johny Astro? The greatest toy ever made, I said. I never heard of it. What does it do? I'll show you at show and tell, I said. But you don't do show and tell, said Hobson. I do too, I protested. You show, but you never tell, said Sam. Well, Sam was right. I never tell. But I was fabulous at show. I knew how to pick 'em. If something tells a story, and as long as I can reach it, and as long as it's something I can carry without using a wheelbarrow, it's probably perfect. I've brought in all sorts of treasures. My dad's fantastic reading glasses, my mom's pearl necklace that she looks good in, Calvin's baseball card collection, and now Johny Astro. If this is the greatest toy ever made, you should probably show and tell now, said Pinky, before we get to school, or we'll never know what you wanted to say. Well, it did make perfect sense. I could hardly wait anyway, so I pulled it out of the bag. The gang read the box. All jaws dropped. All tongues fell out. That's just the box, I said. Wait till you see it in action. I fingered the edge of the cover. Open it, Sam pleaded. Open it! I held my breath. I wanted to open it. I wanted to show the gang the most fabulous toy ever made. I couldn't wait. Whoosh! I lifted the cover. An old smell of fun and excitement filled our noses. And then whoosh! The bus rounded a corner, and we rounded in our seats. And when we all sat back up, Johny Astro didn't look the same. There were a few pieces missing. They were not in the box. They were not in the bag, or in the aisle, or under the seats. They were nowhere to be seen. I was not even sure which pieces were missing, but there were a few empty spaces in the plastic package where they should have been parts. Oh no, I cried, my dad is going to kill me. The noise on the bus went round and round. It was so loud that my voice got lost. No one turned around. Even the bus driver's eyes, which usually lifted into the mirror whenever there is an extraordinary outburst, they didn't even shift. I swallowed. I blinked. I did my best not to cry. And the wheels on the bus, they went round and round. I bounced up and down, but then a tear rolled down my cheek, and another, and before I knew it, I was crying full blast. Crying isn't really great. Everything's better afterwards, except when the next stop is school. And when you walk into your class and you find a substitute teacher. Alvin Ho called the sub. She was taking attendance, which is where most of my troubles usually begin with subs. I opened up my PDK. I needed an escape route. Alvin, the sub called again. Here, answered Flea. You are Alvin Ho? Asked the sub. No, ma'am, I'm Flea, said Flea. That's Alvin, and she pointed at me. The sub looked at Flea and then at me, over the top of her glasses. He can answer for himself, she said. No, he can't, said Flea. Why not? He just can't, said Flea. He's Alvin Ho. The sub's eyebrows arched like two unconnected bridges. I will have no funny business in my classroom today. Is that clear? Said the sub. Flea nodded. Then her lips curled in, which meant that she had more to say. Alvin talks normally at home, Flea continued, but at school he only talks with his eyes. Oh? Just watch his eyes, said Flea. I rolled my eyes, not on purpose. They just rolled on their own like a couple of loose pearls from my mom's necklace the time I borrowed it for show and tell. Oops, said Flea. Is this a joke? Asked the sub. No, ma'am. Flea shook her head. The sub looked puzzled. No one mentioned a special needs student. Alvin's not special, Flea explained matter-of-factly. He just doesn't speak in school. The sub fixed her gaze on Flea, and then she locked her gaze on me. It meant that I needed to be on my best behavior. Fortunately, I've had lots of practice in good behavior. I knew what to do. I kept my eyes low, I kept my hands in plain sight, and I stayed in my seat. Then show and tell began. Jules showed a pox scab. That's nothing, said Eli. So then Eli showed his. It was redder than Jules's. But it wasn't redder than Hobson's, which was crimson. But that was nothing compared to Isha's, which was practically still oozing. Then everyone began raising their shirts and lowering their pants to see who had the biggest and ugliest scab of all. It was fabulous. Then the substitute said that was enough of the scabs, but some of us had taken off so much of our clothing by then that it took us a while to get it all back on. Then the dreaded moment came. Alvin, said the sub, do you have show and tell? I froze. I avoided eye contact, and I held my breath. I sucked in my gut, and I clutched my PDK. His show and tell met with some misfortune on the bus this morning, said Flea. So it can't be shown. Misfortune, said the sub. She gave me the stare that I wasn't yet finished with misfortune. Oh, wait, She gave me the stare that said I wasn't yet finished with misfortune. So slowly I pulled out the box. Johny Astro, gasped the sub. Hey, I had one of these. It's the best toy in the world. It really flies. You can fire it up, send it into orbit, and bring it back down again. It's absolutely spectacular. The class went silent. No one moved. No one even breathed. The sub got very quiet, and she wiped her eyes. Nothing else like it was ever made, she sighed. Then she smiled at me, and I smiled back just a little. Maybe it is even a gentleman's rule to smile back when a lady smiles at you, but I don't really know because I can't remember. Well, for a sub, I guess she was okay. As for show and tell, it was the best thing I ever brought in. Everyone wanted to play with me at recess. We'll get it up in the air in no time, said Pinky, carrying the box out to the playground. I'll hold it while you fix it. I nodded. Then we lifted off the cover. The missing pieces were back, but they were wrecked. I found them in the back of the bus, said Flea, and I put them back in there for you. Don't worry, said Eli, whose father fixes cars. I can fix anything. My dad showed me how. I can do origami, said Sam. I'll make you a new balloon. Here's some Band-Aids, said Eli, peeling a dirty one from each elbow. And I've got spray paint at home if you want to come over after school, said Nia. I opened my PDK. There were instructions for surviving practically every disaster except a Johny Astro disaster. That's the problem with PDKs. You never know what you're missing until you're missing it. Alvin, said Flea, putting a hand on my shoulder. People would think you were careless, but you really weren't. It was an accident, said Nia. Yeah, an accident, echoed Eli. It's a good thing that it wasn't your dad's. My heart sank a little, like a dead battery. And I don't think I really need to tell you what happened next. Dun, dun, dun. Uh-oh. What do you think happened next? Well, he's going to have to go home and tell his dad. There's no way around that. But the question is, how is Dad going to react? It's his most favorite possession, and that happened to it. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to take the news very well. All right, we'll find out next chapter. Bye.